in my years of practice as a specialist physician and in my years of involvement in the emergency medical sector, I have seen a lot of tragedies. Even good medical insurance doesn't always save you. Most of the time it does. But there are scenarios where even when you have, and I know Zimbabweans know this very well, even when you have a truckload of money, sometimes the money in the world won't make a difference. In trauma, we talk about the golden hour. When someone sustains significant trauma-related injuries, there is about an hour where appropriate medical intervention makes a difference. And in Zimbabwe, things tend to move very, very slowly. They move very slowly. What we are pitching and proposing today is not going to be the ultimate solution to the problems we have. It's really part of the solution. I'm going to try and share a little bit of who we are as far as the structural and the operational issues. And then I'll sort of build up my case from there. Our fleet, we have been working really hard to expand our fleet and increase the number of options available to you. Our journey didn't start today. Our journey started a few number of years ago when we were then ACE, but now we're HAC. And we were the first in the country to introduce helicopter emergency evacuation services. We are working really hard, and I am very pleased to announce that in the next couple of weeks, we will bring on a new helicopter to add to the fleet that we have that is capable of night operations. If you think about the country, we now can boast and say confidently that we have coverage of the whole country. We can pretty much evacuate someone from any part of the country. And we are able to do that using the aircraft we have and using our network of partners. As a team at HAC, we've made up our minds that we are going to work with everybody. Anybody who's our member, we will do the very best we can to get them out of a sticky situation. While I am proud of our team at Trauma Borodale, I know we now have a cath lab, so I do feel a bit more comfortable if I ever have a heart attack. As you can see, I have a pot belly, so there's a reasonable chance that that could happen. I kind of feel more comfortable. But do you know if you have a heart attack in Bulawayo, and if you're going to come by road, forget and smile. It's too late. If you have a stroke and you need to get to a CT scan in this country, if you're going to go by road, it's probably too late. So we're pretty proud, and we're able to take you out to the places where you need to be. The basic requirements to work on our team is you've got to have, if you're a doctor, you've got to have at least 5 years experience, and you've got to have all the required qualifications: advanced cardiac life support, advanced trauma life support, pre-hospital care. If you are a nurse, the requirement to be on our team is you've got to be an intensive care nurse or a nurse anesthetist. That's how high the bar we've set it, because we realize that in some places in our country, the level of care is really low. And so the major advantage of the service we provide is our ability to rapidly upgrade the level of care. And I'm going to present one particular case just to give you an idea of what we are talking about. And where there are difficult missions, they will be manned by specialists. I have been in many missions. I think I've done over 150 missions. And if you have a cardiac case, we will send a specialist, like myself. If you are intubated, we will send an intensivist. And as far as our equipment goes, I don't think this slide really matters unless you're medical. But the point is, we carry the full load. And I can boast confidently, and you can put me on record, that our aircraft, in their full ICU configuration, will probably be head to toe with some of the best ICUs. And that's the kind of investment that has gone into that. We do pretty much everything: blood gases, ultrasound, in flight. Here's a case. This is actually a real case that we did a couple of weeks ago. It was a 50-year-old man who was riding his motorcycle about maybe 50 k's north of Macheke. Macheke is about 110 k's east of Harare. He called in distress. And his main complaint was right-sided chest pain. I suspect that maybe he'd received sustained trauma to the chest from the motorcycle itself. We were able to get airborne with the helicopter at about 10:30. It took us about 30 minutes to get to Macheke. When our team arrived on the ground, they found this man to be in distress. And when the doctor, who happens to be here, actually, I saw him around, the doctor who was on the case, he was able to pick up that this guy had significant chest injury, had multiple fractured ribs, and had developed a pneumothorax. And that's a pretty life-threatening condition if you know what that would be. While on the ground, the team that we dispatched were able to put in a chest drain. They were able to give this man adequate analgesia. They were able to conduct what was needed before moving him. And so if you think about it, from the time that he called us, we were able to get an appropriate medical team on the ground in just about an hour. And they were able to provide the care he needed. Eventually, we flew him to Harare. We landed at Pari, where we maintained the helipad there, and he was taken to one of the private hospitals. This is a true, I can only imagine what would happen if he was at the back of an ambulance for maybe 2.5 hours or maybe 3 hours. His condition could have significantly worsened. And these are the kind of cases where people like us make a real difference going forward. And so there are 4 packages that you could think about. There's a business package. This is for large groups. It's for employees. We think of logistic companies. We think of companies with bases and operations around the country. We have a tourist package. This one is for locals who are traveling. You know you're about to travel to Kariba. You know you're going to Vic Falls. And you can take, for $25, just $25, the price of an average lunch in Harare, you can cover yourself for a period of 2 weeks while you are on holiday. Then there are individuals, people who who've seen the kind of stuff that we've seen. You can take out a package for the year. It's just $100 per person, and it'll cover you. And of course, families can be covered as well. You can cover yourselves and your families. If you think the amount of money we spend on a lot of things, you may agree with me that especially if you're highly mobile, we want to do this. And I think getting more people to have access to immediate medical care is probably one of the most important things we can ever do. Pre-existing medical conditions will have a waiting period. That's actually the only waiting period we have. It's for 3 months. But if you have an accident unrelated to your pre-existing condition, you're covered right away. We will take you to the nearest and most appropriate medical facility that that will require your needs. You don't always have a choice where you go. If you do want to choose, your medical insurance may have to cover the gap. But the one thing we promise is we will always come. Everybody, thank you for coming out and witnessing our launch, and I hope you will participate in our program, not only for yourselves, your families, and the people you work with.